Hello and welcome back to another Notes. The topic of this notes is photosynthesis. This is the first notes of your Unit 5 notes, all about cell energy. So, if you remember, what do plants need to survive? If I were to give you a plant, what would that plant need for you to keep it alive? Typically, students answer with things like water and sunlight. And that's correct. Plants do need water and sunlight in order to survive. The reason they need these is because of photosynthesis. Photo means light, and synthesis means to build. So based on the two parts of that word, photosynthesis means building with light. Photosynthesis is a chemical reaction that happens in the chloroplast of a plant cell. Think back to our second unit this year. We learned about the organelles you can find in all cells. Chloroplast is one of the ones that you can only find in plant cells. The chloroplast is the green organelle that plants use to make sugar. That's because the chloroplast does photosynthesis. The process of photosynthesis uses a green pigment called chlorophyll that absorbs sunlight. It's able to turn that sunlight, also called radiant energy, into chemical energy, which is sugar. So, let's take a look at the chemical reaction for this. In science, when we write a chemical reaction, it's kind of like a math equation. On the left side, you have reactants. These are the things you put into a math problem or into the equation. On the right side, you have products. These are the things that are produced or come out of your equation. For example, in the math problem 2 plus 2 equals 4, 2 plus 2 are your reactants. 4 is your product. However, in science, we do not use an equal sign. Instead, we use an arrow. An arrow means that it's a reaction is taking place. So, look here. Think about for plants. What is reacting for plants? Reactants are things that plants need. What do plants take in? We said that they need sunlight, also called light energy, and they need water. The thing you might not have said, though, is carbon dioxide. These are the three reactants, or the three things plants take in. If you can give these to plants, what will they produce? Well, we know that the chloroplast is responsible for making sugar or food, so we know that plants make sugar. Plants also make nice, clean oxygen, which is why whenever you go out in the woods, it's a really great breath of fresh air because there's a lot of trees producing oxygen. So, take a look at this equation. Where would you find the reactants? On the left or the right? If you said the left, you'd be correct. The left side of a math problem or a science equation is where you'll find the things you're putting in. So for example, in photosynthesis, the reactants are carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight. Where would you find the products, on the left or the right? If you said the right side, you would be correct. The right side of the equation is what comes out. So for example, in photosynthesis, it produces sugar and oxygen. These are the products. The left side is what goes in, reactants, and the right side is what comes out, products. So photosynthesis, which happens in plants, takes in dirty carbon dioxide, I like to call it dirty air. It takes in water and sunlight, and it uses it to make sugar and clean, fresh oxygen. So, how does it do this? Well, it specifically happens in the leaves of plants, since these are the green parts of plants. Using sunlight to combine carbon dioxide and water in order to make energy-rich compounds, which is sugar. The specific sugar that plants make is called glucose. Glucose, or sugar, is a chemical energy because the energy is stored in the bonds of the chemical bonds of sugar. The energy that's taken in by plants is light energy. This is the energy you get from sunlight. So, photosynthesis is able to convert light energy, sunlight, which humans and other animals cannot use, into chemical energy, which is sugar. That is the type of energy that other animals and humans can use. This is a transfer of energy. Energy is not being created and it's not being destroyed. The light energy is not being destroyed, it's being transferred into chemical energy. The same is true of the molecules. The oxygen in carbon dioxide and water becomes the oxygen in sugar and oxygen gas. The carbon in carbon dioxide becomes the carbon in the sugar. None of the molecules are created, none of them are destroyed. They're just rearranged, like beads on a necklace. You might take a beads, instead of going blue, green, red, you might rearrange them into two different necklaces, one with blue and one with green and red. So, because plants can do photosynthesis, we call them autotrophs, or producers. The reason we call them this is because they produce their own food, that food being glucose. The process of photosynthesis makes food for plants, sugar. Humans, on the other hand, we are not autotrophs or producers. We are consumers because we cannot make our own sugar. We have to go eat other organisms to get sugar. So we might eat a plant for its sugar, like we do when we eat fruit. So, in a reaction, there are limiting factors. This means you need enough of ingredients in order to make the reaction happen. If you compare this to baking a cake, if you don't have the eggs to make the cake, then you can't make the cake. This is a limiting factor. So think about our equation for photosynthesis. What might limit a plant's ability to do photosynthesis? Well, just like making a cake, you need to make sure you have enough ingredients. You need to have enough sunlight, enough carbon dioxide, and enough water. If you don't have enough ingredients, you won't be able to make the products. So, limiting factors are carbon dioxide, light intensity, and even temperature. Most plants do not like to grow in the cold, so that's why you don't see a lot of plants growing in the winter and fall months. So, take a look here. As we increase the amount of light intensity, look what's happening to the growth of the plant, or more specifically, the rate of photosynthesis. As light intensity increases, as we give more reactants, we have more ingredients, the amount the plant is able to produce also increases. For example, in my cake analogy, if I have more eggs, more flour, and more sugar, I'm going to be able to make more cake. So, why should humans care about photosynthesis if we can't do it? Think about this. What does photosynthesis make? How are those products helpful for humans? Well, if you laugh at that joke off on the left side of your screen, right, what are plants farting out? They're farting out oxygen. And why is oxygen important for humans? Because it's the gas we need to breathe. It's what we fill our lungs with. So yes, you do breathe in plant farts every day in fresh oxygen. The other thing we need plants for is that humans cannot make their own food. We cannot use solar energy or sunlight to make food. We rely on plants for doing that. What we can use is sugar. So humans consume plants in order to get the food they need. That's all for today's notes.